Nope. All right. Welcome to the Dynasty Evaluation Show. This is John McGlynn, and we are talking divisions. AFC, NFC, across the board. Let's find out who to get in each division. Let's go.
McGlynn is in. I repeat, McGlynn is in. Let the fun begin. This is the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast with your host, John McGlynn.
Is that Herms?
He got them guests on the Rolodex, stopping by to talk about some Dynasty Superflex. Everybody, yo, commish is in. It's time to sit down to listen to John McGlynn. Yo, who we trading, who we fading, who we getting off the squad. Knowledge never overrated, playing for number one. Hey, yo, McGlynn is in. It's time to let the fun begin. It's the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast with John McGlynn.
JT, it's been a minute since we did a show, a couple weeks now, but we're back talking some divisions. What are you thinking, man?
Yeah, it's crazy. Been busy. Ton of stuff going on lately. Just been wild. Just wrote a bunch of articles for DLF on running backs. So if you remember over there, go check it out. Talked about a ton about all the rookies. So also been doing 1 million rookie dynasty drafts. So I am been all over that, man, all over the place. Did my home league on Sunday. Big draft there. Me and you talked a little bit about it earlier. Didn't have a ton of picks as I traded away in quite a few things, and then went in and made some moves and got a ton of picks of players I like. So let's hope it works out.
Yeah, that's all my drafts are, well, I mean, all my online drafts are done. All my home league drafts have not started yet. We're still voting on dates and times and all that kind of stuff, but hey, whatever. Those are fun because we got all the data, all the mock drafts are done. You get it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel at that point in time because everybody knows where everybody's going. So, but
yeah, you kind of the later you have them, right? It's like people have a little more time to kind of digest everything, read up on where people are going, who's taking who where. These early drafts though are a little bit wild west. People aren't just quite sure what's going on, and so things get a little crazy early on. You see stuff kind of happen. It's pretty crazy though, but I like doing the early ones because I feel like I have a little more advantage in the early ones because I know who I like and where I can get guys. And there's definitely guys I'm getting in certain spots of the draft now that I know there's no way I'm getting them there comes like late July, early August, when some of my other dynasty drafts are going to happen. So for surprising, John, today is the first day I'm not involved in a draft since the draft ended. All my drafts have ended at the moment. I've got another one starting up Saturday, but no draft today, no draft tomorrow. One starts Saturday. So unlike last summer where I spent every day drafting from the end of the draft all the way to literally the night before the league started. So little bit of a semi off here, but actually I have a CFF draft starting tonight at 6:00. So
what?
I'm not taking a full day off. So John Lobb, our buddy John, is running a $5 CFF best ball draft on Fantrax. So jumping in on that one. So I'm right back in the mix. I lied. I'm not taking 2 days off. I'm back in the mix tonight.
You're right back in the mix. I haven't done any CFF leagues at all. So that's something I got to start doing. I was talking to Chris Battistill the other day.
There's some nice like $5. A bunch of people were doing some $5 best ball ones. They were kind of nice, kind of jumping in, quick drafts. Everybody does them online, kind of knock them out pretty quick. And again, if you screwed, it's really early to do CFF, especially with the transfer portal. I did one like a month ago, and like half my guys are on new teams now.
Yeah,
because they all enter the transfer portal. So it's really early to do them right now. But I think some of us are just trying to kind of figure out where guys are going, get a good feel. And I feel like these $5 CFF drafts give me a little bit of better feeling of where some of these guys are going. So then my full-time dynasty C2C and CFF leagues, I have a little bit better feel of where I can take guys when those drafts happen, which are usually more late July, early August, when we kind of figure out what's happening with some of these teams. So it's a little more of a practice run, I should say. but it's still fun. I get to pay attention to the team, and it's best ball, so I don't have to set my lineup. I can just check it and see what I scored every week once the season starts.
When is the transfer portal over? Like, when did the teams finally say that you can't transfer anymore?
It's I wish I could tell you an exact date. It's switched so many times. I don't 100% know when you officially can't transfer anymore. I know there's like a date you have to have your name into the portal by to officially enter. I don't know if there's like a cutoff date that says like, oh, you have to submit like a new school or where you're going, or if you're going back to the same school by a certain date. I'm not 100% sure on that. It's changed a couple times. I need to actually research that now you said it, but I know you have to enter the portal by a set date and time, but I'm not sure if there's an actual cutoff on when you have to make that decision. My guess is most teams, it comes down to players if they have any scholarships left. If you're still hanging out there in the wind looking to sign with a team, you probably need to do it quick because there's not going to be a lot of scholarships left here very soon.
All right. Well, these guys all were scholarship athletes at one point in time, but they are now in the NFL, and we're going to start with the AFC East of NFL players and talk about the values of players on the NFL team. So we're going to do just the AFC East today. We're going to go through the Bills and then the Dolphins and then the Patriots and then the Jets. And so we'll start with the Bills now. Obviously, the number one contender here and the MVP of the league last year, Josh Allen, he's almost untradeable at some point in time. I mean, there is 4 mid to late first even worth like Josh Allen? Like at some point in time, you just have to say, hey, this guy's a game changer. He's going to score more points than anybody else in the league. You know, it is what it is. Do I want 2 receivers, running back that's going to last 2 or 3 years, or do I want the clarity that comes with Josh Allen on my fantasy football team? You know, I don't know where if I have Josh Allen, I'm not letting him go until about 2 or 3 years from now when I see him start breaking down a little bit. You know, he's not going anywhere. He's stuck on my team like glue. Like a mouse in a glue trap. He ain't going nowhere. I don't want, 4 mid to late. I don't want two late picks in 2026 and one late pick in 2027 and 1 pick in 2028. Just give me Josh Allen. I'll just, I'll keep that. So, but besides that, the Bills are funny because after that,
I think you're right there, John. John, I just think you're right a little bit. Is unless like you are in a complete rebuild, like your team is just in shambles. And literally Josh Allen's is all you have, is the only way I think you move Josh Allen for a bunch of picks. And it's just if your team is just an absolute shambles. Because if not, I just don't know that you're going to get enough players to make up for what Josh Allen is bringing you. I took over an orphan of a team a couple years ago, and they had traded like 3 or 4 years worth of first-round picks for Josh Allen. I was a little bit upset about that, but then I made it work, and my team won the league this year. So I was like, I'll take Josh Allen for that. Look at some of the players I ended up giving up. So I tough to move off Josh Allen at this point in time, I think. Yeah,
it's for me, he's a hold. I don't have any like completely rebuilding teams where Josh Allen was on there because I don't know. It's if I had Josh Allen, I was in win now all the time, so I get trained for win now players is kind of how it is. But after that, the talent pool on the Bills goes kind of I'll say severely down. You're looking at James Cook as the next best player on the team, Khalil Shakir, and then probably Dalton Kincaid, who if I'm in a tight end premium league or even like a small tight end premium or to like a complete 2-point premium, Dalton Kincaid is a guy I'm targeting right now. Besides, like I mean, are you actively chasing James Cook right now in your fantasy football leagues? He's 25 years old.
I'm not a huge James Cook guy, to be honest with you. The touchdowns were great last year. He was solid. He was way better than I thought he would be last year, to tell you the honest truth. I did just trade for him in a league, and it's because somebody was just pushing me hard for Kenny Walker. I actually prefer Kenny Walker, but I only did the deal because I was able to get a first-round pick, which ended up being Luther Burden, who's my guy. So I only made the deal so I could get Luther Burden. But James Cook, the question is, people are nervous right now because there's a chance he's going to hold out. Everybody's not sure what's going to happen there with the contract. I mean, I think he probably deserves a new contract. Does he deserve big money? I wouldn't give James Cook big money if I was the Bills, but so we'll see. If something happens there and you've got James Cook, you're going to be real upset. If you're like me and you have my boy Ray Davis in every freaking league, then I might eat a little James Cook to have Ray Davis be the guy because I got Ray Davis everywhere.
Yeah, James Cook, and then it's Ray Davis, who's probably to trade for Ray Davis is a hell of a lot easier to trade for James Cook, and then you're looking at Ty Johnson and Darrington Evans and Frank Gore. Like the last, after that, there's nothing on the depth chart. I'm going to go as far as to say it's James Cook and Ray Davis. Ty Johnson is a nice receiving back out of the backfield, but again, he's like 28 years old. He's he's not a workhorse by any means whatsoever anymore. So it's going to be, I'm going to try and target Ray Davis if I can, as far as that goes. But in the receiving core, I talked about Dalton Kincaid a little bit, how he dropped the ball in the playoff game, and oh my God, everybody gave him Dalton Kincaid was the worst thing that ever happened. It happened to Kincaid. It also happened to Mark Andrews, and these guys drop the ball once. Well, they're tight ends, they're not wide receivers. It's okay. Like they're going to drop one. But Kincaid was the guy that they praised, and he had the best hands that ever happened coming out of college, and he doesn't drop anything. And I still want Dalton Kincaid on a passing offense like the Bills. I still want Dalton Kincaid. But after Kincaid, you got Shakir, who's going to get 1,000 targets, and then Keon Coleman, who I think they liked his outside ability. They liked his skills on the outside, but I just don't think that Keon Coleman is the man. I think they still need a number one guy, and it's not Josh Palmer, and it's not Elijah Moore, and it's not Curtis Samuel, or I think it's just, for the most part in fantasy football, the only guy I really want on this team is Josh Allen, and then Khalil Shakir is probably like a flex player probably. The rest of the guys are best ball players, I think, at best. This depth chart shaking out, JT. It's bare bones minus the quarterback, don't you think?
Yeah, here's going to be the interesting thing is if any of these wide receivers pop early in the season, have a big game, if everybody runs out and tries to get them, or everybody turns around and tries to sell real quick, if you get a big game out of Shakur, or you get a big game out of Moore, who they just added, or Keon Coleman goes off. It's one of those things that I think Coleman and Kincaid are probably the two guys you want to try to get, but like so many people are down on those guys. So if you like them still, now's probably the time to go get them. As far as cost, they're probably still fairly cheap, as people just aren't high on those guys right now. I think they both are going to have better seasons. Are they going to be fantastic for fantasy? I don't know about that, but here's the thing is, if I'm betting on a guy, I want to bet on a guy that's a young guy who maybe just hasn't peaked yet, and I want to bet on a guy that has Josh Allen as our QB.
Yes.
That's what I want to bet on.
A lot of balls, a lot of throws, a lot of everything, yes.
And go out and get Ray Davis. If this James Cook thing ends up becoming a disaster, here's the thing about Ray Davis. I have to be honest with you. Is he James Cook? Yeah, I don't know if he's James Cook. Can he have a James Cook type season? I definitely think it's possible. And here's the thing. They're the exact same age. So if you're the Bills, do you want to pay a $10, $12, $15 million to James Cook? Or do you just want to pay a rookie contract to Ray Davis for basically the same player?
Right.
Who might be slightly worse.
I know how big of a Ray Davis.
Ray Davis is just a little. Even if Ray Davis is a little under James Cook, if you're paying a guy, 4th round money compared to, a top 10 running back salary, if I'm the Bills, I might make that move.
Yeah, the rest of these fantasy options here on this team. Who else are you really interested in the Bills besides a possible dart throw at Ray Davis and then Dalton Kincaid and Shakir as a flex player? Like, I don't want James Cook.
No one.
No one, right?
No one. Like I said, I don't even really want Cook. I just made Cook in that trade because I really wanted Luther Burden, so I made the deal. It's the only way I could get it done. But I don't really want James Cook either. If I have James Cook and I can move him, I think you got to sell at value right now. Here's the thing. I was talking about this the other day with someone else on a different podcast. For him to match the numbers he got this year, I don't think it's going to happen. Because if you go back and you look at his numbers and take out the 16 touchdowns, he had a very okay season. It wasn't bad by any means. It was a solid season. It was a solid, year. But he's like a mid-range RB2 if you get rid of the touchdowns. So it is. And what are the chances he gets 16 touchdowns again? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think 8 is more realistic for him, maybe 10, but 16 touchdowns is a lot. So if you get rid of the 16 touchdowns, if he just went barely over 1,000 yards, decent receiving profile, but it's not like he caught 75 passes.
Right.
So that's the toughie for me on him.
Are you actively trying to trade for Dalton Kincaid at all?
I would definitely trade for him, depending on the cost. If somebody's out on him, right now might be even the best time to get him because people there's online rumors and stuff. People saying his knee is terrible and he looks horrible. He can barely run, and people are kind of ripping it. So there's probably some really nervous people out there. Plus, you know how it is these days. Everybody just remembers the drop and oh, he's terrible because of the drop. But it's does that? I mean, I don't think that's.
What would it cost for you to go from? Well, first of all, what would it cost for you to go from Kincaid to Njoku?
Oh, that's a good question. Man, if I could trade Njoku for Kincaid and get somebody to throw on a second or a third, I would think about doing it. I would consider it.
I was thinking 2/4. Just to see if somebody would bite and then maybe go to late third after that. But yeah, I mean, you know me, JT. I'm never going to come out with my high.
You and I get. Well, I'm just saying if I'm selling if I'm trying to buy, if I'm trying to buy Kincaid and I have Njoku, I would sell off Njoku for Kincaid in a second or third. Now, if you have Kincaid and you're trying to sell him for Njoku, then obviously offer the fourth instead, and then maybe move up if you have to.
I think that's what I meant. Move up from Kincaid to Njoku. I would probably do 2/4, plus 2 early.
Yeah, you can throw it out there. I'm not sure somebody. I think if you got somebody that's more of a rebuilder, that Njoku's not really going to help this year, then I think maybe that they would take that. But also you got
as a quarterback, and you want to stack that.
Yeah, and you want the stack. Yeah, because like I told you, that team I had that have Josh Allen, I took Kincaid last year because I needed the stack in a tight end premium league, and I didn't have much at tight end. He didn't give me a lot last year, but I'm hoping he puts me over the top this year. With a decent year with the stack. Because again, if he doesn't have a huge season, but you have Josh Allen and you can stack him, then when he does hit or have a good game, it helps you out a ton. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. I think we kind of we figured that it's Josh Allen or kind of bust on the Bills. So we go to Dolphins now, and their number one rated player is Devin Achane. That's Achane. Well, just Achane. I don't trust Devin Achane. I don't know how you are, but let's go to the top 4 fantasy assets: Devin Achane, Jalen Waddle, Tua Tagovailoa, and Tyreek Hill. And then let's go as far as saying Jonnu Smith is also somebody who didn't have who had a breakout season last year, but I don't trust in the long run. Half the games guys were hurt when he was out there just killing the ball. So Jalen Wright is somebody I'm targeting right now. Malik Washington, somebody I'm targeting right now. I'm not a humongous Ollie Gordon fan, so I'm staying away from him. But Achane, Waddle, Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jonnu Smith, Jalen Wright, Ollie Gordon, Malik Washington, and pretty much, and then Quinn Ewers kind of shows up in the scheme of things in the depth chart. You got Nick Westbrook and Keenan stuff, but there's a bunch of nothings after that. How are you paying the 2 first or possibly 3 first value to get Devin Achane on your team? I am not at zero chance that happens to me.
People just love him way more than I like him. I know you've seen the potential. I know you see the numbers of what he can do, but man, he just feels like a guy that's always going to miss 4 or 5 games a season. He's just always going to get banged up. I mean, the numbers are solid. I mean, you look at what he's done in the games he's played. I mean, he finished top 10 in half PPR last year. If you've got him at full PPR, is even better. I mean, the 87 catches is what absolutely saved his season last year. 87 catches, just under 600 yards with the 6 receiving touchdowns, saved his year because he ended up with, just 900 rushing yards with 6 touchdowns. So big difference there. Man,
there's somebody already back there.
But here's the crazy thing only 15 points behind him was James Conner and Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
So you're talking about 2 guys that are old. People are like trying to give away for anything, and they were only 15 points behind Devin Achane last year.
Let me ask you a question.
I mean, I can't pay that up for Devin Achane. That's just me. I can't do it. I understand that people like him and they want him and they go get him. Absolutely. But I can't do it, man. It's just I don't like him enough, and I'm worried about the injuries. And I like this Miami offense, but dude, last year it felt like this team was teetering. You know what I'm saying? I felt like they were teetering on the brink of like, is this team going to be any good, or are they going to absolutely fall apart?
Right. You're on the clock right now, okay? Or let's say I'm on the clock right now. Are you sending me Devin Achane for my 102 so you can get Amari in Hampton?
Oh, yeah. I am. I would much rather have him in Hampton. I know people are probably. I know that's probably going to be a take that most people don't like. They're like, no, we've seen Achane. We know what he can do. We don't know what Hampton can do. I'd rather have Achane. But to me, I'm taking Hampton.
100%.
I like the Chargers offense better. I like what they're doing there. I'm a little worried. I just told you I'm worried about Achane. I'm just worried about his health. If I had him, and I don't because I never was big into him. If I had him in a bunch of leagues, I'd be moving him if I could. But I don't have him hardly anywhere.
And he's going to be 24 by the time the season starts too. And he's a small running back, and he catches screen pass out of the backfield and takes him to the house. I get it, but yeah, he seems like he gets hurt an awful lot. And Hampton's made to be a workhorse role. I mean, you're also looking at like you could trade Achane away and get guys like somewhere around of like Ladd McConkey or like I think some people have him rated possibly above like I mean this. Don't laugh at me when I say this, okay? But some people have him rated above like Saquon Barkley as far as like points, and that's to me that's absolutely ridiculous. I couldn't even imagine sending a trade for Achane.
I think the problem with Achane is you're just looking at what the ceiling could be. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If he played a whole season and the Dolphins were good, you're like, oh man, he could average like 7 yards a carry and he could get 100 catches and he could end up with 2,000 all-purpose yards and 20 touchdowns. Like, I understand how you could talk yourself into that happening because you see the talent when he plays well and he's healthy. You're like, holy crap, this guy's freaking athletic as hell. But it's all got to go right for that to happen, and I'm just not betting on that personally.
Are you going after Jalen Waddle in any leagues right now? If you had a chance to obtain Jalen Waddle,
I like Waddle still. Waddle, the injuries, I've heard him. That dude, people are so far down on him. If you wanted to get Waddle a couple years ago, you were paying through the nose for him. Right now, you could get him for a reasonable price. I'm definitely buying Waddle if I can, just because the cost is less, and I still think he'll be solid. He's another guy who's kind of dealt with injuries. If he can be semi-healthy, I mean, what Tyreek Hill are we getting this year? That's going to be a big question mark. And like you said, Washington is a guy. I've been seeing a decent amount of movement with Washington here of late. I think people are starting to think like, I could talk myself into him actually being an asset. I took him late in a ton of drafts last year. I have people asking for him all over the place, and I don't want to give him up though. I really don't. I'm like, I kind of think I could see him being the full-time slot guy there this year. Last year it was kind of a mess with all the other guys they had there, and Beckham and Barrios, and I mean they just had a bunch of different dudes playing. Yeah, they just had guys kind of all over. I think that he works his way in this year. So if you get somebody who's absolutely just fired up in your league about him and you can get a third for him, I would trade him for a 3rd round pick because I just really like this draft and who I'm getting in the 3rd. So I would make that move. It's, I've been getting teams offering me like late 4th, early 5th, and I'm like, I like some guys I can get there, but that's where I took him. I'm playing the upside on him at that point. That's where I took him last year in drafts.
Malik Washington is getting dropped by a ton of people right now, and I'm picking him up, and I'm like, I'm finding a spot on him.
He's getting dropped
on my bench.
What?
Yes.
Oh my good dude! I have people offering me. I have him in a lot of leagues. People are offering me trades for him all over the place. Like people are trying to get him from me, and I'm just not sure I want to move him.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on your roster size and stuff, but like some of the ones that are like 23, 25 with no kick or no defense.
Yeah, that is tough because some of those guys you like, if it's only like a 24 or 25 person league, like roster size, I'm in a couple of those leagues where I'm like, I'm currently sitting over the roster limit and trying to decide how long I can wait up to the first waiver wire to make my cut because I'm like, a couple of these guys, I really want to see where they end up because like Washington would be one of those guys probably at the end of your bench that you're like, man, can I afford to keep him not knowing what his role is going to be over somebody else? So I guess in a league like that, I can see him getting dropped for sure. If you're in like a 35 plus roster league, I don't know how you drop him.
It's funny you said that because if you had the luxury of holding on to, let's say I got 30 guys on my roster and I got 10 guys in my IR, say I got a 40, say I traded and I got like 34 guys on a 30 man roster and 10 people stuff in my IR right now. And you don't have to drop anybody until waivers start, like just say in the end of beginning of June or late June or after your rookie draft, let's just say in the middle of June or something like that. Why would you drop anybody voluntarily unless they're like completely like I would not drop Derek Carr right now. I'm doing everything I can to keep Derek Carr on my team. You know, he retired. He's got a chance to come back. If there's even something that says like, yes, Derek Carr is contemplating coming back after surgery this year, he's still only 33 or 34 years old, man. And he's a decent quarterback.
I'm also with you. Well, I'm just with you on that. I don't drop people until I absolutely have to.
You absolutely have to.
I mean, I don't drop until they're like, dude, your roster is going to be illegal and you're going to like have to pay money or lose draft picks. I don't drop till then. I'll even hold guys after the first or second waiver wire run if I look at the waivers and I'm like, oh, there's not anybody I have to have. Like if the guys on the waiver are about equal to the guys sitting on the end of my bench, I'm not going to drop those guys just to pick somebody else up. I'll just wait. Wait and hold for a while until they tell me like, hey, you got to like roster cut downs are here and you have to cut. Then I'll cut. But man, I'll sit all summer in some leagues, like 6, 8, 10 guys over the roster. I got to move my guys off a taxi and I'll just put them on the roster and I'll just let them sit there until they make me cut them.
Yep. All right. So Waddle, Tyreek, and Malik Washington are people we're going after. Andrew Armstrong, Nick Westbrook-Akine, those names have been thrown around Twitter a little bit because of the fact they're on the Dolphins. But even if they got the starting job, I wouldn't even want them on my team. They wouldn't be on my team to begin with. And then A-Chain, Jalen Wright is somebody I'm going after in the running back position. I love Jalen Wright. I think he's an explosive player. I think it took a little while for him to understand the playbook last year. Sometimes when you get drafted in the NFL, these guys don't produce right away. And guys like, oh, he's terrible. It's very hard to go from a different scheme in college to go to an NFL type offense where you don't understand like your assignments. It's not that easy to transition. It's like memorizing a phone book. People don't understand how hard it is at some of these positions. I bet you if somebody threw a book in front of you that just told you your blocking schemes as a running back, 85% of America probably couldn't even comprehend what's going on in just the blocking schemes of a running back. Not going through the holes, not talking about like what you're supposed to be doing or what the count is or the cadence, all that kind of stuff. I couldn't imagine like it's even learning the blocking schemes from the NFL running backs point of view or understanding wise. So Jalen Wright's somebody I'm going after because he's a talented player. I know he's talented. He's a fourth round pick, which means they invested somewhat of an important pick in him. And I like him more than Ollie Gordon. That's just the way I look at it.
He's the same type of player as A-Chain. So if A-Chain gets hurt, Wright is the clear guy that fills in and plays that same role. I think Ollie Gordon's going to have a role on this team. How much for fantasy purposes, I'm not sure about. they obviously took. There was a ton of other guys this draft that were similar size, speed to A-Chain, to Wright. If they wanted to take another one of those guys, they obviously went the opposite direction and took Gordon because they wanted a bigger, stronger guy, which I think they needed in this backfield at times. Now, can he steal some goal line carries? I think there's a chance he does. I think he maybe snipes some touchdowns. I don't know how big a percentage of him getting in there and getting carries is going to be there, or if he's one of those guys that gets a lot of third down, like third and short work and goal line work, and that's all we see out of him. And he's one of those guys, when you look at the end of the day, you look at the stat sheet, and he's got 5 carries for 11 yards and 1 touchdown. You know, like,
yep.
You could get a lot of those out of Alec Gordon. I don't know. So it's a toughie on him. He just doing the rankings and doing all the running back articles I've done this year, he is the biggest faller pre-draft mock drafts to post-draft post-draft, not mock drafts, actual drafts. He fell from the mid-second round to the mid to late 4th round. He was the biggest dropper with 2 round drops. He was RB8 on DLF before the draft, and now he's RB17 or 18, depending on where you look at him. So it's a pretty huge drop for Gordon. So he's a guy I would take a shot on late in drafts. If you can get him like late 4th round, early 5th, even though there's other guys I actually like better. So if those other guys are gone, I'd take Gordon. So far, I've not taken one Ollie Gordon because there's other running backs I like that I'm getting in that same area of drafts. But I do think he'll have somewhat of a role. Is that role going to be worth anything in fantasy? I don't know.
I think the problem was I think we talked about this before on some of these shows, that the Dolphins had no way to slow the offense down. It was lightning speed everywhere with all these Lightning McQueen players everywhere. And then when they wanted to say, hey guys, let's run the clock out, or let's you got an early down play, they didn't know how to do anything in short yardage, ground and pound situations. They didn't have the personnel for it. So I think Ollie Gordon fits that. It's almost like having a fullback in your team, but he's going to be a running back that's going to be in the backfield by himself, or they could disguise him on the goal line and just give him some goal line carries. But it is a way to slow the offense down a little bit without having to rely on gimmick plays or quick slants or a screen passes out of the backfield. They can actually run the ball in the middle now, which I think they didn't have the ability to do before.
They were just go, score as fast as possible. And then when they had to slow it down because they were winning, or the defense couldn't stop anyone, and they're like, holy crap, we got to hold the ball for a minute. Like, they just couldn't do it last year.
Yeah.
Ollie Gordon, I tell you what, he could end up being a complete bust, or he could be a huge steal. I mean, if he could have came out on the draft last year, I think he's maybe not RB1. Possibly RB1, maybe as low as RB5 compared to RB17 this year. I mean, that's a huge difference. I mean, John, if you go back and you look at last year's running back draft class compared to this year's draft class, it's bad. Like, I didn't think it was good last year, but if you took all those guys and you put them in the draft this year with all these guys, oh man. A ton of those guys that went in the 3rd and 4th round would be like 7th rounders in this draft this year. So it's kind of wild how it works year to year sometimes in these drafts. And again, I think you take 5 or 6 guys that went in the 6th or 7th round this year that would have been probably 4th round picks last year if they were in the
Imagine if you're Ollie Gordon.
So it works like that.
Imagine you're Ollie Gordon and you're in practice and you're doing wind sprints versus Tyreek Hill and Devin A-Chain and guys like that. And like, it's like, these guys are like 4.3 40s and you're in the 4.7 range. Like, you got to be getting smoked at everything you do. He's probably slower than Tua.
But you also have to look at, if you add Tyreek Hill and Devin A-Chain together as one human, they're about the same size as Ollie.
Yeah, right.
So that doesn't make a difference there. I mean, he's a big. Here's the thing: is if Miami can block and create some of the creases and lanes they've done for A-Chain in the last year, and Mostert and those guys, I actually think Gordon could be solid, man. He's just a guy that you have to give him a little room to get speed. He's a north-south runner, downhill guy. If you give him a crease, he can hammer through that crease. Now, he ain't going to run away from everybody. We've seen that he doesn't have the high-end speed, but we've also seen like how many really, honestly, truly big breakaway runs are every year in the NFL. Not a lot, man. I think people highly overestimate how many guys are busting off 40, 50, 60-yard runs. I think I saw a stat, and I really wish I would have saved this because it was a great stat, and it goes to so many things I talk about. They're showing running backs that had, explosive runs, and they called anything an explosive run over 20 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And my guy, Najee Harris, was number 3 on the list after everyone ripped him and said, we need somebody more explosive. He can't take it to the house. Number 3 on the list in the last 4 years in explosive runs in the NFL. And I think he had 13 or 17. That just shows you how few they are. I mean, I think people they get in their head that they see the highlights that guys are busting off 60 and 80-yard runs all the time. It's just not happening, people. It's not happening. It happens occasionally, a couple times a year. If guys get 2 or 3 of those in a season, it's a monster year. So I think that we overvalue the top-end breakaway speed in the NFL. Yeah. It's nice to have, but really, you want that guy that can get you 4, 5, 6, 7 yards consistently. That matters more in the NFL than getting a guy that can bust, a 60-yarder once every 100 carries, but he gets you 1 yard every other time he touches the ball.
If you can get 4 yards per play, you'll never leave the field. You'll get a first down every third play.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game, staying on the field. Ollie Gordon is more of an NFL. Yeah. He's probably going to get 140 carries this year, 120 carries probably. But the thing is, he's a more important.
If something happens to these guys, to me, Ollie Gordon's a nice stash. I don't know what he's going to have, but I love the possible upside. If you can get him, if he would have got to me in drafts at the right spot, I would have totally taken him because I think he's worth a stash. I mean, we saw it. He won the Doak Walker Award 2 years ago. Guy had over 2,000 total yards. Yeah. The offense was just horrible for Oklahoma State last year. I mean, they were bad. They were real bad. Couldn't do anything. I mean, I watched at least 3 or 4 Oklahoma State games last year, and that team was terrible. And it wasn't all Ollie Gordon. He couldn't do anything. That team was so bad. Mm-hmm. So I just think, he's got more talent that I think he's a lot better than a 6th-round pick, to be honest with you. I couldn't believe he dropped the 6th. I thought he would go maybe 4th or 5th. I knew he wasn't a 2nd, 3rd-round talent. There's no way with his speed. But man, all the way in the 6th was really surprising to me.
He did hit 20 miles an hour at 230 pounds. I mean, he's not like that.
That's the thing is, it's not like he's just a chug in the mud guy.
Right.
He can get going north-south and bring heat. I mean, dude, tell me Ollie Gordon's slow than have him have a football and run at you. You'll be like, that guy's coming fast. Holy shit. Get out of the way. He can run. He's a guy you have to create a lane for. He's just not going to make guys miss in the backfield and get extra yards. But if you give him a little bit of head of steam, dude, he's going to bring the house and he can run hard. So we've seen in the NFL, DBs don't want to tackle. They don't want to tackle. No. You get him on a DB, that dude is going to be diving at ankles. They do not want to take him on. So it's going to take some work. It's going to take the right break. It's going to take the right thing to happen for him to get significant playing time. But man, I tell you what, if something happens and Ollie Gordon becomes a starter and the O-line is even remotely competent, watch out. We'll see what he can do.
Maybe I should start not loving Jalen Wright so much and go after Ollie Gordon. Maybe that's maybe.
Jalen Wright is the 1-for-1 trade out, you would think, with A-Chain. You know what I'm saying? If A-Chain goes down, Wright does what A-Chain does, he's just not quite as fast, but he's right there. So you would think he's the easy, replacement for A-Chain if he gets hurt. But hey, if both of them go down and Gordon gets a shot to start and actually get carries, it could get real interesting.
I'm glad we did this show today, JT, because you kind of changed my mind a little bit about Ollie Gordon.
I just talked myself into more Ollie Gordon. I was like, gosh, I haven't taken him in one draft yet, just because he's been going like late third, early fourth in a bunch of my drafts, and there's just a couple other dudes in the late third that I've been on. If he would have got me to me in like mid fourth or later fourth, I would have taken him for sure. Yeah. But it's just where he's kind of going. There's other guys right in that realm that I've just liked better than him, that don't need as much of as help to see the field that I'm taking there. So, but I definitely need to get him back on my radar. I'd have some upcoming drafts where I don't have some early picks, and I've only got picks late, like 4th, 5th, 6th rounders. So he's definitely a guy I'm going to look at possibly adding to a few rosters.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we talked about that. It's thanks, JT. Thanks for talking to me a little Ollie Gordon when I was kind of ready to throw him off the ledge. I appreciate that.
Dude, go back and watch this film from 2 years ago at Oklahoma State. Watch highlights. You're gonna you'll be loving him, dude. I mean, you'll be like, oh my God, Ollie Gordon, I'm on the train. He was just a freaking beast. He was an absolute freaking beast 2 years ago.
I think it did his what he did at the combine. I think people were just like, he didn't work out great.
The problem at the combine, and again, I probably said this too much, but people probably annoyed by me. It was probably one of the most impressive overall combines for running backs in NFL history. As far as the amount of guys that put up unreal RAS scores, it was off the charts. So the problem was the guys that didn't have crazy RAS scores kind of fell because people were just like, here's the group that I think are guys that have shot to be really good NFL players. And I know we're getting off the team topic here, but especially out of the rookies, I think Ollie Gordon, Damian Martinez, Devin Neal, Woody Marks, LaQuinn Allen. Yeah. Those are my 5 guys that were really good college players, just solid all-around running backs, but none of them are just pure athletes, just over the top, blow you away with speed, size, strength. They're all kind of like, one guy's a little bit better at catching, one guy's a little bigger, So there's a few of those guys in there that they just kind of got buried because you see a Marion Hampton and Judkins at 220 running 4.4 40s. And then you're like, well, Devin Neal running a 4.58 just isn't impressive. Ollie Gordon running a 4.64 or whatever is not that great. So I just think you saw some of those guys fall by the wayside just because there were so many guys, putting up impressive RASs that it just made those guys that were Bucky Irvins last year fall kind of the wayside. And we saw, if you're a really good football player, they'll find a spot for you and you can be successful without being the most insane athlete of all time. Right. And Bucky Irvin showed that last year. Terrible combine showing. One of my biggest mistakes. I absolutely loved him coming into the draft. One of my biggest mistakes was after the combine, I just moved him way down my rankings because I was like, oh my God, he's smaller than I thought. He's slower than I thought. But then I watched the tape and I'm like, man, I love him on tape. I'm like, he looks way better than he plays way better than he looked at the combine. And we got to remember the combine's not everything. And that's who I think Devin Neal to me is Bucky Irving this year. He's the comp. He's a guy, but he's a lot bigger than Bucky. So that's the big difference. He's a 6'2", 215 back compared to Bucky, who was under 200. But he's not super fast, runs that 4.58, but he just knows how to play running back, and he does everything well. He doesn't do anything excellent, but he does everything well, and that's Bucky. Bucky does everything well. So don't forget about those guys just because they didn't have crazy great RAS scores. That's what I'm saying, John. Sorry, I got off the beaten path of the show.
That's all right. We like being off the beaten path. I was gonna say I just picked up LaQuinn Allen on the waiver wire yesterday at a 12-team 30-man league, and I'm like, you got to. Dude,
he's my favorite waiver. He's my favorite waiver wire pickup, or my last guy in whatever draft I'm drafting in. I've taken him probably in almost every league, unless I knew a league no one was going to take him and I knew I could get him on the waivers, then I didn't. But if I've had any questions of whether I can get him on the waiver, I take him in the last round of every draft. I know that he is deep down the depth chart. I know he's like 4th or 5th for the Jags. I totally understand that, people. So I'm not saying that LaQuinn Allen's going to come in there and like be a fantasy star this year. I like the receiving ability. I think he's the second best pass catcher out of the running back group in this class. I think he can do a little bit of everything. I think there's a chance he sits this year, but man, if the Jags really decide they don't like ATN and they're out on Tank Bigsby with a new coaching staff, man, if Tootin becomes their full-time back, LaQuinn Allen's going to see some time.
Yes,
Because
sir.
Tootin's going to be the speed guy, but Allen's going to be the third down back that catches the ball, that gets the hard yards when you need him. He has a shot to be the goal line back. If he has a nose for the end zone, even though he's not a huge guy, he's not super fast. I mean, he was like one of those guys running a 4.58, 4.6 kind of range. But if they get rid of those two guys ahead of him, and next year it's the Tootin Allen show, sign me up for Allen. Super cheap cost. I think he could end up being something. Now, is there a chance he becomes my Sean Tucker and doesn't ever get anything because he's buried behind 2 or 3 other guys on the roster? Absolutely, that's a chance. There's a really high percentage chance that happens. But I'm taking a shot that if he does get a chance, that he'll make something happen with it. So he's my favorite taxi squad stash.
Yes. All right. We got off topic twice in a row, and I love doing that. This is what I love. This is what our show is all about.
John.
We should just call it the off-topic show from now on. But next team is the New England Patriots. New England Patriots, who are not known for their offensive prowess here, but we talk about fantasy football contenders, guys we like in fantasy. Looking at Drake May, the quarterback. First of all, they just drafted Travion Henderson. They got Kyle Williams, who we just talked about earlier today in our own little conversation on the side about getting him in the late second, early third, sometimes mid third. Sometimes I got him in the 4th round, early round. He's moving up.
I got him in the 4th of my home league, and I couldn't freaking believe it because I've been taking him in the late second and everywhere I can get him. And I would have taken him earlier than that, but I didn't have any draft picks. I was out of draft picks, but then I ended up making a trade and getting like 5 more picks for a second rounder next year. And he was one of the guys I was able to pick up with one of those picks. So I felt like it seemed like a little bit of a crazy trade when I first made the trade. But when you see the value I got of the guys I got after that, I actually think it worked out.
I think it worked out too. That's absolutely fine. Like I said, I'm getting in the 4th round in some leagues since late 3rd now recently because everybody's name's kind of out of the bag on that one. But then you got guys like Ramondre Stevenson.
Here's the thing. I was going to say, here's the thing with Kyle Williams while we're on the topic. You still can kind of buy the Patriots fantasy bias that people don't like the Patriots because they think like they're just bad for fantasy. Now we got a new coaching staff. Now their team did suck last year, and partly they sucked because they had bad players. So I don't know that the Patriots are necessarily going to be a bad fantasy spot any longer. They just had bad players last year for the most part. Getting new coaching staff, trying to get things set.
Devon Baker.
Poke, dude. Oh my God. If you are a Poke fan, don't ever go on Twitter and look at any kind of chart that ranks anything. I have seen like 10 charts in the last week that Jalen Polk was like dead last on, and it didn't even matter what the metric was. He was like dead last. I was like, oh, I don't have a lot of Polk, but that just absolutely murdered me on every Polk share. Javon Baker, who knows what's going to happen there, man? Everybody knew he was a little bit of a head case, going to be slightly a problem. Can he come out of the hole? Maybe, but he also could be just completely lost cause, to be honest with you. I like Kyle Williams just because it's wide open there. And my thing is, like, I'm going to take a chance on a guy that has a chance to be the number 1, and Drake May's his QB because I like Drake May a ton. And if Kyle Williams, to me, could be the Josh Downs to Drake May, sign me up. Sign me up because Josh Downs was his moneymaker at North Carolina. That was his boy. And Kyle Williams is very similar type of player with a better size. He's a lot bigger than Josh Downs. And the only reason Josh Downs fell to the 3rd round was because he's small, because he's a player. And I think if Kyle Williams can be that guy for May, whoever ends up drafting him is going to be super stoked that they got him where they got him. Yeah. That's a wide open wide receiver room for him to be the number 1 guy. and to learn with May. So I love him. I'm taking him everywhere I can get him.
Diggs might not be healthy when the season starts. And you got guys like Demario Douglas who showed flashes, but they're more of like a necessity player that when nobody else is on the team, he catches the ball and looks good for a couple of weeks. But I mean, yeah, Kyle Williams could literally run away with his job and just be the number one guy. Now the problem is,
I think,
can he be the number one guy right from the get go, or is he going to be overwhelmed with the number one role?
That's going to be really interesting to kind of see, can he come out right away and hit, or is he a guy that's going to take some time? I mean, I like Demario Douglas. I think he's okay. He's been a somewhat of a sleeper flex play the last 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. If Williams hits this year, Demario is dead. I'm just telling you right now. If Williams can hit, Demario is absolutely dead. But I do like it was an okay player. Diggs, I think he's going to help that wide receiver room, and I think he's going to help May. But I don't think Diggs is the number one anymore, man. I just don't think he has it in him. I think he can be a solid player. I think he can help a young wide receiver room and a young quarterback. But I'm not expecting big things out of Diggs at all this year. So I mean, there's a lot of room there, and if they're losing, like they're expected to lose because they're still really rebuilding this team, you're gonna see May throwing the ball a lot. And he's got to throw to somebody.
The only thing I get that's gonna slow Kyle Williams down is he'll be against the number one cornerback on every team. That's tough to do as a rookie.
That could get so that's where hopefully for him, and hopefully for fantasy managers, you hope Diggs is not completely dead. If Diggs can be pretty good, if he can be 65-70% of old Stephon Diggs, then hopefully he takes the number one defensive back in games. And that leaves Kyle Williams on the other side against somebody else. And then that makes Kyle Williams worth even more because Diggs is taking the other best player off of him, which would be huge for real life purposes. Not great for Diggs for fantasy, but would be really nice on the other side for Kyle Williams.
Absolutely would be. Then you got Ramondre Stevenson, who he does everything he possibly can to fumble himself out of a job. Mike
Vrabel is not going to put up with that. I'm just telling you right now. I just had this feeling that we're gonna Ramondre is going to be sidelined by week 6, and it's going to be over. Like he's going to be over him. Travion Henderson is going to be the guy. I know people are nervous about drafting Travion Henderson early and that he's going to share time. And I think he shares time early on, but I just think he's an explosive enough player that he doesn't need 25 touches a game. I think if you can get 15 to 18 touches out of him, I think he can do enough with them to be a solid fantasy player. So I like Travion Henderson a ton. I'm taking him if I can get him at 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, I'm all over it.
Dude, when Antonio Gibson went to this team with Ramondre Stevenson, and I'm like, you got to be shitting me. It's the same 2 guys do the same 2 things. They're both big dudes. They both run between the tackles. They both catch balls.
Now they have 3 the same guy.
It was like, yeah. And now it's like
Henderson is basically a better version of those 2 guys.
Yeah, he doesn't fumble. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He doesn't fumble. That's one thing they're going to love. He does not put the ball on the ground. He is a bet. I like Antonio Gibson. I know you love him. He's your boy. Henderson is a much better Antonio Gibson.
Well, Henderson wasn't a receiver before he came a running back. He's been a running back his whole life. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Antonio Gibson just has never really made
number one running back in the country coming out of high school.
Right.
Oh, yes.
So that's a lot to ask for Antonio Gibson. He did a pretty decent job trying to fill in. I mean,
he's a solid player, not knocking him. If he had star pedigree and been a running back his whole life and everything else, then possibly he's Travion Henderson. But he's a poor man. He's a poor man's Travion Henderson. I'm just sorry, he is.
These guys are going to be Travion, and Travion is. I mean, he's a receiving back too. I'm not sure where Ramondre's going to be the early down back. Because Gibson's not really an early down back. He's kind of a receiver out of the backfield too. They don't really have another running back on this team besides those guys.
It's those guys. I mean, Travion's going to be in there. I don't think Ramondre. Joe jumped in here. Joe Castman, thanks for the for joining us there on YouTube. He says he thinks Henderson takes over the job by week 5, 6. He's a fantastic pass pro. I completely freaking agree with Joe here. I think they work. I think Ramondre is the guy at the beginning of the year. I think Henderson, they kind of split. And I think by week 5, 6, it's all Henderson. I think it's all Henderson. He's a better pass blocker. He doesn't fumble the football, which we've talked about. Like, he does not put the ball on the ground. He can catch out of the backfield. This is why, and I've had this talk, and I actually just put this in my article, a little DLF. I'll give you a little tidbit from my article today. Henderson and Judkins going right next to each other in the draft, depending on who you want. If you're in a full PPR, Henderson's the guy. You got to go Henderson. He's going to catch a ton of balls in this passing game with May.
Yep.
The fact that he can pass pro, he's going to stay in the game. They're not going to take him out. He can play early downs. I think Ramondre does it early in the season, but I think Henderson eventually takes that over. I think he's the guy. If you're playing in a no PPR league or any kind of point per carry league, then I slightly lean Judkins to maybe be the guy there. But I do like Henderson just a little bit better than Judkins, depending on your scoring.
Right. You know, Joe Castleman goes bowling on Thursday nights. He lives right across the street from me. And he goes bowling on Thursday nights instead of like watching hockey with his friend John and watching Thursday night football. He goes to the bar.
He can meet up with you after the bowling, John. You know Thursday nights are bowling night. I don't bowl on Thursday nights, but most of my friends bowl on Thursday nights. I used to bowl on Sunday nights in the old Bar Wars League back in the day.
That's terrible.
Before they started letting everybody that didn't work at bars into the league, and they started smoking us, and then it wasn't fun anymore because all us non-professional bowlers who only showed up for the Bar Wars League and had like handicaps of 100 and 120 were getting rocked by dudes that played in 4 leagues. So, little side note there.
All right, so let's switch to the last team in this division is the New York Jets. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Justin Fields, Mason Taylor, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, who I'm trading for everywhere I possibly can right now. I just got him yesterday I'd like to throw like 4th round picks and 5th round picks for a bunch of like guys that nobody wants and throw Isaiah Davis somewhere in the mix so that I can maybe get him on my team, import him on my team. But people underappreciate Isaiah Davis. I think he's a stronger version of Braylon Allen, but a faster version of Braylon Allen anyway. And then you got Jeremy Ruckert and Mason Taylor, your guy here. Tyrod Taylor's the backup. Malachi Corley, Arian Smith, a bunch of nobodies after that. Donovan Edwards, who when he was at Michigan, man, he was I thought he was going to be something for a little bit. Then he just
he was such a Devy asset. Donovan Edwards, everybody was on him in Devy because his receiving profile and the speed. And the problem is he just never got better at reading blocks. He just runs into his line all the time. Unless he's outside using his speed, he just runs into guys. Oh, it's so disappointing. He's another guy. I mean, I can't believe where he was at 2 years ago that guy went undrafted in the NFL draft. Is just wild to me. I mean, people were talking about him being like a 2nd, 3rd round pick, being like one of the top guys off the board 2 years ago, and then undrafted. He had some great did not improve. I mean, he's got great hands. He's got a great receiving profile. If anybody who's an undrafted guy can make a team and do something because he excels at one thing, you'd think it would be him. So the problem is all these guys keep going to teams that are already loaded with a bunch of other running backs. And so it makes it a lot tougher as the Jets. I tell you what, the Jets are the they might as well be your fantasy team, John, or my fantasy team. We'll just keep loading up on running backs. I don't care where they're at in the depth chart. I'll just keep taking more of them. And that's what the Jets do every year.
Let me ask you a question here, okay? Is this team set up perfectly for the play action for Justin Fields just to go back to his college days with Garrett Wilson, like running these routes and getting open?
I think this Jets offense could actually be really nice for fantasy. Like, are they going to win games? I don't know, man. This Jets organization has been a mess here of late. But Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson, I think Fields is highly underrated this year. I think Garrett Wilson is an absolute buy. I mean, who else are they going to in this offense? Alan Lazard? Alan Lazard? I have Alan Lazard on a couple teams I took over, and I'm like doing everything I can to trade him for anything before I have to cut him because Alan Lazard is your number 2. That's brutal. Garrett Wilson's going to get just peppered with targets. My guy, Mason Taylor, absolutely love him. Rookie drafts, LSU tight end. going mid-second to late second. I got him early third in the league the other day. I was super pumped that I got him there because he's pretty much not made it to the late second in the last couple of drafts. I got sniped. I was at like 209, 210 in a couple of drafts, and I got sniped at like 208, 209 on him. Pissed me off because I really like him a ton. I think he's going to work in. We saw Cole Kmet. I mean, Fields hammered him with balls. And again, they don't really have any second wide receiver that's any good. Al Lazard, I mean, is Malachi Corley ever going to ever see the field? We don't know. I mean, obviously didn't last year at all.
They don't have a second anything. Besides the second and third running back.
Yeah. So, and then you got Breece Hall, who I like. So, like Breece, I think Breece could end up with a bump. I mean, Breece could easily hit 100 catches this year with Justin Fields running around and dumping the ball off to him. And then, like I said, if you're behind Breece, are they going to move him? Are they going to trade him? Are they going to do something with him? If you think there's a chance, I mean, Braylon Allen showed that he was pretty solid when he got a chance. It's to me, John, I was going to tell you this when I was talking about Ollie Gordon. I know you love Braylon Allen last year. If you like Braylon Allen a lot, you're going to love Ollie Gordon. I think Ollie Gordon's a very similar type of player to Braylon Allen.
Another so is Isaiah Davis, but he's faster than both those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Isaiah Davis is the most underrated player on this team, on a team that's kind of, I don't know what you call rating as far as that goes. It's literally the Garrett Wilson show, and probably maybe Justin Fields running the ball a ton.
As long as they give Fields the green light, which there's no reason he shouldn't. I mean, if you're this team and you go back to Tyrod Taylor at some point, like, what are you doing? You signed Justin Fields for a reason. Let him play all year. If he plays all year, even if the Jets struggle, and even if Fields' numbers aren't great as far as like real life watching him play fantasy, I think he should still be good for fantasy purposes. I really do. Absolutely. I think you could see a Bears-esque season out of him where he's running for a crap load of yards and hitting Garrett Wilson for 115, 120 passes.
Why would, I mean, that's going to happen. It's almost not a necessity that's going to happen. So, you know, it is what it is.
I got Fields in a ton of leagues last year, hoping for the Steelers to make him the man, and then they went away from him. So I was just bummed. I'm still bummed about it. Still can't believe that the Steelers jacked around, did all this crap, and then they end up with Mason Rudolph for the year. It's like, what are you fucking doing? It drives me insane. But I hope Fields has a freaking great year and sticks it to the Bears and sticks it to the Steelers for not believing in him.
If Justin Fields wins, like somehow makes this offense click, and they like, I'm not even saying make the playoffs, but just show somewhat crazy improvement in this offense with Justin Fields, and they like, yes, he's our guy. Let's lock him up for long, like, you know, a couple year contract kind of thing like that. What do you think? That trade I made with Jorge for like 3 peanuts for Justin Fields, like like when I was in that league, that might be the greatest trade of all time with Justin Fields.
That'd be freaking phenomenal, man. That'd be great. I tell you what, I don't know what to think because the Jets are just a mess, but they've got good defensive players. If Fields can play well, they have a reasonable schedule this year because they were so bad last year. And then you got to think the Bills are the cream of the crop. If the Jets, take a little step forward and Miami continues to take a little step back, I think the Patriots are still going to be bad. There's a shot. They're going to have a shot at making the playoffs. I mean, I think the AFC is going to be tough. There's going to be a ton of teams that beat each other up. If if the Jets can get to 9 or 8 or 10-7, they're going to have a shot to make the playoffs.
Look at it. I got Justin Fields for Spencer Rattler, Travis Scott, and Gabe Davis in a super flex.
Even if he doesn't play well, that's a steal. I still love it.
Tyler Scott, even from the Bears, it's even worse. But
it doesn't even matter. It's any of those Scotts. You can throw every Scott in there; it doesn't matter.
All right.
Joe back in the mix here. Problem is Fields is limited by his inability to throw with any kind of anticipation, especially over the middle of the field. Anticipation is his problem. This is where they need to do play action, where he is faking it and just chucking it deep to Garrett Wilson. That's what they need to be doing because he throws a pretty accurate on the mark deep ball. He was phenomenal at Ohio State doing that. Yeah, the quick passing game is not his his strong suit. Him taking the snap, reading, anticipating a throw and throwing it is not Fields' strong suit. So again, is he going to be a great real life NFL quarterback? I think we all know there's major questions of whether that's ever going to happen, but can he be good for fantasy purposes? I definitely think there's a chance he puts up real solid fantasy numbers. Again, like I said, it might not be pretty as far as like watching the film and looking at the final stats as far as passing and everything. But man, if he can throw up, 75 plus rushing yards, and then he can throw up 200 passing yards with like one big 50 yard pass about a game, and then sprinkling some rushing touchdowns and some short passing touchdowns, man, Fields could be solid for fantasy.
When you're at Ohio State and you have the best running backs in the league, the best receivers in the league, the best offensive line, the best everything, and you're throwing from shotgun 5 yards back where you get a snap and you can read the whole defense walking around, the difference between that and being under center and getting the ball and then pretending to hand off to a running back with your back turned to the field and then spinning around 5 yards back on a 5 or 7 step drop and trying to read a defense that you haven't seen for the last 2 seconds while you're dropping back in the read the defensive line, where the linebackers go, where's the safeties, who's double covered. When you could see all that completely perfect when you're in a shotgun and you are blind all that and you can't read defenses to begin with, like a guy like Justin Fields, you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble as a passer. And I'm not sure if that's not something you've done your entire life, you just can't learn that. That's like learning magic tricks. It's impossible, man.
The Jets, if the Jets are smart, they've watched all of Justin's film over the last couple seasons, and they are adjusting their offense to what he does best. Because I think we've seen that, John, like you just said, making him do things that he's not comfortable with and he's not used to doing is just bad, because it takes a guy who already has bad anticipation and then also has the issue that he's played with pretty bad offensive lines his entire pro career after just playing behind a fantastic offensive line at Ohio State. Because you even see at Ohio State, it wasn't like he came out and everybody's like, oh, Justin Fields is this huge dual threat quarterback who runs everywhere. Well, he didn't really do a ton of running at Ohio State. Not that he couldn't. He just didn't have to, because he wasn't getting rushed all the time. Then he gets into the NFL and he's running everywhere. And everybody's like, oh, where's this guy running for 1,000 yards? I'm like, yeah, because he's running for his freaking life.
Yeah.
And they're having him do stuff he never did in college, which was turn his back to the defense, turn around, make a quick throw. He wasn't ready for that stuff, so then he just ran. So if I'm the Jets, I'm completely adjusting this offense. I'm probably running 60 to 70% shotgun.
Yeah.
Read option.
Okay.
I'm shotgun read option with Breece Hall. That's what I'm doing. I'm making it comfortable for him. As a coaching staff, that's what I'm doing.
If you're Aaron Glenn and Tanner Engster and you're running the offense for this Jets team, I mean, you have to come up with plays that make Justin Fields comfortable. That's your job. That's your only job this year, is to make Justin Fields comfortable in the pocket. I mean, there's not just because Breece Hall's not going to get a running start through the line doesn't mean he can't take the ball from shotgun and do direct snaps and that kind of stuff. Why wouldn't you develop an offense like that?
Totally agree.
All right.
Totally agree.
Well, we got through all divisions, all 4 of these divisions, all 40 teams in the AFC East. I plan on doing 8 shows with this. We got nothing but time in the off season, so they're not time sensitive. Maybe once a week, twice a week, maybe sometimes twice a day. We'll see what our time schedule comes up with. But we're not only talking about these divisions in a fantasy football perspective. I think next week, Tuesday or so, me and JT are going to do a little gambling show too. What are we doing, JT? On the JT?
So join us. Yeah, join us on the Stew with JT Brew on Fantasy and Frames YouTube channel. We're going to be breaking down the schedule. I know schedule release came out just a little bit ago. I usually like to try to get the show out a little earlier and closer to the schedule release, but girlfriend and the kids have been moving in, but it's just been hectic as possible at my house. The last 2 weeks have been insane. So we're just slightly behind on that. So at Tuesday, we're hoping to go in. We're going to do a breakdown in every division, what we think win or loss records are going to be for each team. We're going to talk about the betting lines, what lines we like, which ones we don't. Kind of breaking down who's schedule, who's where. And Johnny, we're just going to discuss it. We'll do it similar to this fashion. We'll do every division, breaking it into 8 shows. AFC East, we'll start with there and go through the AFC first and then all the way through the NFC. So check that out. We're going to try to get through every show, all of them, on Tuesday if we can make it. It's going to be a long day, but if we can't, we'll split it up between 2 different days, probably AFC and NFC if we can make it work. So, but yeah, keep us up to date for that, or keep us on your radar to join us for that next week on Fantasy and Frame. So we'll have it on the stew with JT Brew.
All right. This is Dynasty Evaluation with John McGlynn. I am your host here with JT, this co-host, the Mo-host. And thanks very much for jumping in. This kind of impromptu show, but sometimes impromptu are the best shows ever. Thanks, Joe Castleman, for jumping in with some questions. I'll talk to you later, guys. Have a good one.